Hey, what's up everybody? This is RKD coming at you with another video and series of instructional video tutorials. This one's going to be covering the Orsing pistol kit. What you see in front of you is all the parts that you'd be getting in one of those. Now these are also available in two because Orsing has two of them. Sometimes people only want one because some collectors just want to have one for display. There are two different tips available for this. There is this basic one here, and there's also another shorter version of this that has two little prongs that stick out of it, and I'll be covering that shortly as well. Basically what you have here is your main body with the triggers, and then the hammer assembly, barrel, and then your choice of tip, of course. I tried to mold these so that there's as little cleanup as possible. You're going to see some seam lines here, but they're pretty much almost all along the edge on this side that follow all the way up around and go around. So you can pretty much just sand those off real easy. And then here in the middle, I kind of had to put the seams in the middle there for that, but that's a low profile area, so that's not a big deal. Same thing on the barrel here. You can see it partially there, and then the rest of it's hidden there, so it sands off real easy. Okay, now this, I don't know why I never did one of these video tutorials before, but I'm in the process of assembling a set for a client, so I figured this would be a good opportunity to go ahead and just make an instructional video for those of you who want to do these yourself. Let me go ahead and set this down here. Like I said, we're not filming an Oscar, so we're just going to do the best we can with what we got. Okay, so as you can see, I already have one. This one is partially assembled. Okay, basically the pistols are exactly the same except for this tip. This is the other tip that I was referring to. It has the two prongs. So if you want two of the same tip or one of each, doesn't matter. I can get you either one. Okay, I just want to kind of show a little bit of the detail on some of this. You can see there's the bottom. This one's already been pretty much cleaned up and is ready to go for the most part. And you can see that the sides of the body are actually different, and this area right here is where the hammer assembly is going to go, and I'm going to go ahead and cover that for those of you who want to see how that gets attached with and what type of adhesive that I use as well. Okay, so go ahead and set that there for now. Basically the tools that I would recommend that you're going to need, you really don't need a whole lot. I'll pick this up again and make you all seasick. Pretty much just need a Dremel with this type of bit. I don't even know if you can't really get that in focus, but this is nice to have a good little file there. X-Acto, some about 60 grit sandpaper, piece of cardboard, and then your adhesive, and I'm going to cover all of this. So, okay, I'm going to go over over each of these pieces real quick, how to get them cleaned up and get them ready for assembly. This one has a seam along the bottom. Pretty much all you need to do on this one is just hit it with some sandpaper. And this resin, I use Smoothcast 305 resin in these, and it sands really nice. It doesn't take a whole lot of work at all. You're going to have to just kind of hit all of these edges here, and here. There's a little bit. I probably spent about 15 minutes on this little piece, which it's kind of a pain, but it's kind of worth it. Now there's also these little corners here, because of the way I had to mold it. You're going to want to take like a file and kind of just get a nice sharp smooth edge. It works really well. That's what you need the file for on that piece, and that's pretty much it to get that all ready to go. Same thing on the barrel here. This one, there's a couple little things you want to do a little bit different than that other piece, but same thing on this seam here. You're going to want to hit that with some sandpaper on both sides, and then around here. And then what I like to do for the barrel tip is I will use this Senor Angry Bit and drill me like a little hole in here about this size, and I do it on the barrel tip, or the tip of the blaster, and then the barrel itself. Is what that does is it kind of gives a little bit of a cavity for the adhesive to go into. Same thing on this. This is going to have some small light seams on there. Just get yourself some, probably like some 220 grit sandpaper or something, and just kind of go in between these edges, and then I'll clean it right up. And it shouldn't be too bad. Same thing on the other side. It's not really any other way to mold those, so that's why that has that. This guy here, he's pretty much ready to go. All the way I cast these now is a lot different than what I used to, and I found a better way to do it, so I've been able to capture all of the detail. There's no bubbles in here anywhere. As a matter of fact, the only real major bubble you're going to get on this is right here, and that actually gets covered up by the hammer assembly, so that's not a big deal. There's going to be one sprue right here, and you're also going to want to hit that real lightly with this, and then maybe finish it off with some sandpaper, get it nice and smooth, and it'll look like it was, you know, it's completely disappeared. And this also partially gets covered up by the hammer assembly, so that's cool too. But and I think that's pretty much it for that. Some of these pieces have some tiny little bubbles. I don't even know if you can make those out or not, but I just kind of trim those off with an X-Acto knife and hit these edges here with the sandpaper where the seam is, which you really can't even see it because it's right on the edge, but you know, it just depends on how detailed you want to get on this as far as cleaning those up, so that's not a big deal. Honestly, I would say no more than probably maybe an hour of just solid cleanup on these, if that. And that's like being pretty anal about it too. So, like I said, cleanup isn't too bad on these. Alright, so what I've got on this, actually before I show you that, the adhesive of my choice, as you'll know from my other videos, is the DevCon plastic welder. This is, like, apparently they have a home version now. I don't know what the difference is, if there's another version, commercial, whatever. I haven't been able to, excuse me, haven't been able to find it locally, but you can get it online. It's fairly expensive. You just buy one, they kind of kill you on shipping. So I use a lot of this stuff because I do a lot of commissions for people. So I usually buy like 10 or so at a pop. But you know, if you ever want to get some, if you can find it locally, and you could always get some online too. Maybe order some with your friends or whatever. They do also make another brand that's very similar to that called, I think it's, I forgot what it's called, but it's like plastic epoxy. It's Loctite, that's what it is. Loctite plastic epoxy. It's very similar, works just as good. I like the DevCon a little bit better just because that's what I'm used to, but as far as working time and all that stuff goes, it's pretty much the same stuff. So here's the container here. I'm just going to go ahead and go over this again because I know many of you are probably already familiar with using two-part epoxies. There might be a few of you who have never done it before and just want to see it. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that real quick. So what I did is I left this one here without the hammer assembly so I could just go ahead and attach it and you guys can see. And basically the way this one just kind of fits, it's pretty much made to fit to it. There's going to be, you know, a little bit of a gap, but once you put that DevCon in there, it's going to fill that all up really nicely. And on this side, you can't even really see it. Well, what you're looking for is this curve right here. It's going to curve up here. Now there is going to be a little bit of a gap up here, which is, that's what it's supposed to look like. And when you're lining it up, you just kind of want to, you know, seat it in there and then just kind of line up the top so that you have equal amounts sticking over the edge on this side and this side, if that makes any sense. Okay, so what I'm going to do is go ahead and mix up some of this here. They give you a little mixer, which is cool. I just grab a piece of cardboard, throw it on there, and That works good. This stuff's pretty strong, so always keep in mind safety. Wear gloves and what do you call it? Protection. Mask, breathing protection, breath protection. Yeah, right. So for this piece, you're not going to need a whole lot. And what I like to do too before I do that is I will just hit that with a little bit of sandpaper to kind of rough it up, and then also on the opposite side, rough that up a little bit too. And it doesn't really need it, but I like to give it that extra rough surface just to give it something more to bite onto. Now it's just a two-part. You just kind of mix it up. Now if you're working in a warm garage, you probably got maybe 2.5 minutes, so you want to work fast. Right now it's still winter, so it's cold here, and I have a little bit, it seems like this stuff doesn't cure quite as fast when it's cooler, so you have a little bit more working time. But either way, you don't want to be farting around with this. You just want to kind of get it done. This is actually probably a little bit too much that I mixed up for this, but that's alright. Now when you put this on, some of it may like squish out the sides a little bit here and there. That's fine, don't worry about it, leave it, don't wipe it. Let it cure for a couple minutes, and when it's kind of soft, when it starts to get, you know, a little bit hard, not too much, you want to just grab an X-Acto and just kind of shave off those pieces. They'll come off real nice, and it'll give you a nice clean look on the edges, and you won't have anything sticking out. This stuff is great. It works on wood, plastic, resin, obviously. Otherwise, I wouldn't be using this. It's super strong. Holds up well to heat and cold. It doesn't crack, and it doesn't dry out at all, hardly. I've never had anything fall apart that I've ever used this with. So, okay, so I'm just gonna go ahead, put a little bit in here. Not gonna go too crazy. That's probably more than enough there, and you can see that little air bubble there, kind of. Like I said, that gets covered up, so we're good. That's pretty much all I need, I think. And yeah, that's good. Just gonna kind of line that up. Okay. Let that sit there. And I'll probably just kind of, let it set in that position so that this piece here is horizontal, and it really should only take you about 3 or 4 minutes and it's fully cured. I don't got any squirting out the sides here, so we're good. But as you can see, there's a little bit of a gap at the top there, and that's actually the way I made it, so it's supposed to look like that. Now as far as assembling this in the order you assemble it, I do the barrel first, attached to this. I do a little bit of sanding under here, right in between there, and a little bit of sanding on the edge of the barrel. Actually, let me get the other piece. That would make a little bit more sense. So I do a little bit of sanding here, inside here, and then here, and across the bottom. And then stick that piece, and it's made to fit right in there, so you don't have to do anything to it. Now what I do is I'll put it in the vertical position and kind of hold it, maybe take a step back to kind of try to get the straight angle on it, and just let it set for a few minutes. And then after that, I'll do the blaster tip with the barrel. So, and this one here I had labeled it 2 and 2 because I wanted this one was actually sanded down for the right angle on this one. To get the angles, to get the flatness on that, I just kind of, you can rub a piece of sandpaper across it, or you can just put it on the table and do one of these things here. That works very well too. Okay, so got that. Get that assembled. After that, I'll put this one on there with the little holes that we drilled on both sides. And then when that's on, I'll put that on last. And then that's pretty much it. Now for paint, since I'm only going to be priming this one for the client. This one's kind of moved on me there, so I'm going to adjust it. That's nice about this stuff. You have a few minutes to get everything adjusted and that. Okay. For painting, what I like to do, and this is optional. It just makes it easier to kind of get in because there's a lot of little tight areas that's hard to get paint into. So what I do is I'll mask off this area here with tape. This area, basically all the areas where you're gonna be using the DevCon, and I'll mask those off. And you can go ahead and paint the entire piece if you want. And actually, we'll probably just paint it black and then do the weathering after assembly, because you don't really need. You can weather it after assembly, and it's not a big deal. But I would mask all those areas off with like that blue painter's tape because it has a low adhesion, and mask this off. Like I said, all the areas where where it's going to be, what DevCon is going to be, and then you can go ahead and paint your pieces if you want. And then when those are dry, put it all together. You know, just make sure that you don't have any of that DevCon coming out the sides. And if you do, you can always just trim it with the razor blade or something, or with the X-Acto. This piece looks pretty good here, so we're coming along. And as you notice on this one here, I went ahead and took the liberty of using some putty just to fill in the gaps there, which is really minimal. That's pretty much it. Oh, there's one more thing I wanted to cover on this piece here. This is the pronged blaster tip. This one here, it's really hard to tell, but these two prongs are just slightly low below the equator, and you want those to be in the down position. So basically, you got your little 4 hexagons or whatever the heck those are on top, and then put the 3 on the bottom, and then that's the position that it should be in, based on the research that I've found. But you know, if you want to be that anal about it like I am, that's what it should look like. And then of course the other one, it doesn't matter, it's just all around. But yes, these do have 2 different tips. So if you get 2 different tips and you hadn't asked for them, I automatically send those out first with a set. If you want to, like I said, if you want 2 of the same, you want 2 of these or 2 of the other ones, it's cool, it's no problem. I can get you taken care of on either one of those. And I guess that's pretty much it. If you have any more further questions on these that I didn't cover, I might have forgot, just hit me up on Facebook via IOA, Imperial Outpost Armory, or you can hit me up on my my email, which is bobablade@hotmail.com, BOBABLADE, all one word, at Hotmail. You can hit me up there. And I think that is pretty much going to do it. Thanks again, and we'll see y'all next time.